20% with a spine that bends perfectly normally. That's written into the schedule. And the paperwork deciding whether you can reach it was filled out on your first morning in uniform by someone you never met again. There's a burden of proof in this claim that sits on the VA, not on you, and almost nobody files knowing which way it points. Carry that with you. Think of the rating schedule as a dictionary. If your condition isn't an entry in it, you don't get your own page. You get looked up under somebody else's.
So how many entries does scoliosis get? None. Search the whole musculoskeletal schedule and the word turns up exactly one time.
Yeah, once, Erica, and not as a diagnosis.
It shows up inside the general rating formula for diseases and injuries of the spine, which covers codes 5235 through 502043. And it's listed as an example, an abnormal spinal contour such as scoliosis. That's the entire appearance.
My read is that changes what you're arguing about. You're not proving a diagnosis, you're proving a shape.
And the line it sits on pays 20%. But there's a condition attached that most veterans read straight past, and it decides everything. If you want the plain language walkthrough with the spine formula laid out, it's free at va.richresourceful.com along with the rating tools.
Before you go on, Liam, scoliosis pays 20% as an abnormal spinal contour. What's the condition attached to it?
That the shape has to come from something specific. And if it doesn't, a genuinely crooked spine can rate it 0. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it. The condition is what caused the curve. Not that you have one. Professor Rahman is at the desk to settle something we couldn't. Layla, read us the line.
Hold on. The argument isn't whether a curved spine is compensable, it's which curve. The schedule pays 20% for muscle spasm or guarding severe enough to result in an abnormal gait or abnormal spinal contour such as scoliosis. The contour has to be the result of the spasm.
Which is a strange sentence when you sit with it. Does that mean a veteran whose spine has curved since childhood, with no spasm, gets nothing on that line?
On that line, yes. 9 times out of 10, that is the denial people don't understand. The curve is real, the pain is real, and the criterion they were measured against was about muscle behavior.
Run the math on what that's worth.
$356.66 a month at 20%, $795.84 at 40 for a veteran alone. Effective December 1st, 2025.
Erica, that's $439 a month between them.
That settles it on the money. What it doesn't settle is the harder half, which is who has to prove what, and that's a different body of law entirely. Different road, same destination, the ruler. Forward flexion of the thoracolumbar spine greater than 30 degrees but not greater than 60 is 20%. 30 degrees or less, or favorable ankylosis of the whole thoracolumbar spine is 40. That is measured bending, and it has nothing to do with what your curve looks like.
Erica, so there are 2 ways to 20. Which one does a writer reach for first?
My read is that's the most useful thing in this video. Contour is one road. Degrees is the other. You only need one of them.
And one line in the formula that people skip. It applies with or without symptoms such as pain, stiffness, or aching. Pain isn't a criterion, it's context.
Which is why describing pain doesn't move the number.
So what happens if the examiner measures you on a good day and writes down 80 degrees?
Then 80 degrees is what the schedule reads, and 80 is above every compensable band. That is why the contour road matters so much on this condition. A curve documented with spasm behind it doesn't depend on how you happen to bend that morning. A measurement does. Right, bring degrees, or bring a documented contour with spasm behind it. Hold that pair, because in a minute we're going to talk about who has to prove which one, and the answer surprised me.
Layla's still with us for the law that decides this. Layla, the presumption.
3.304, paragraph B. The veteran will be considered to have been in sound condition when examined, accepted, and enrolled for service, except as to defects, infirmities, or disorders noted at entrance into service.
Layla. So the entrance exam is the whole hinge.
And what happens if the examiner wrote nothing? Say a mild curve nobody measured or mentioned.
Then you are presumed sound. The VA can only get past that with clear and unmistakable evidence that the condition existed beforehand. Not a suspicion, not a likelihood, clear and unmistakable.
Yeah, that's a high wall.
It is, and it faces the wrong way from what people expect. Veterans assume they have to prove service caused it. On this one, if nothing was noted at entry, the government has to prove service didn't.
And if it was noted, you are not out. You are simply on the other track, aggravation, which has a presumption of its own.
Layla, thank you. The burden pointing at the VA instead of the veteran is the sharpest thing said at this desk today.
Asks the room what an increase in disability actually means. That's where these are won.
So answer Leela, what counts as an increase?
3.306 says a pre-existing injury or disease will be considered to have been aggravated by service where there is an increase in disability during that service, unless there is a specific finding that the increase is due to the natural progress of the disease. Read that twice. The trigger is an increase, not a cause.
Take a veteran in the sourced case file, enlisted with a mild curve that was noted, spent 4 years loading aircraft, and separated needing
Hang on, noted at entry? So no presumption of soundness for him.
none, and it didn't matter. That's the hinge of the whole story. His entrance exam recorded a curve and nothing else. His separation exam recorded a profile, a duty restriction, and 30-something degrees of flexion. Same spine, 4 years apart, two very different documents. Nobody had to prove the Air Force bent him. The record showed an increase, and the burden moved.
$356.66 a month, from 2 exams he didn't request and had never read.
My read is the lesson isn't about scoliosis at all. It's that the pair of documents is the claim. So who actually has to prove it? Because that's the strongest thing in this whole claim.
Clear and unmistakable evidence is required to rebut the presumption of aggravation where a per-service disability increased in severity during service. That is the VA's wall to climb, not yours.
I want to push on that because it sounds better than it plays. If the burden is theirs, why does anyone lose?
Because a burden only bites once somebody puts the increase on the table. If nobody ever pulls the separation exam, there's no increase in the file, and the presumption never gets triggered. The law is generous and completely passive.
Yeah, it waits to be asked, Liam.
And both exams are free to request. That's the part that annoys me about this claim. The evidence already exists in a government file about your own body, and the only reason it isn't in front of a rater is that nobody asked for it.
Here's my honest read on whether to file. If your curve is mild, your flexion is normal, and there's no spasm in your record, this claim will land at 0 and the schedule is not being unfair to you. That's what the criteria say. But if your separation exam looks different from your entrance exam, you are sitting on the one claim where the government carries the heavy end, and most veterans in that position never file it. That's my verdict.
2 things to carry. Scoliosis has no code. It's an example of abnormal contour at the 20% line, and only when spasm or guarding caused it. And if you enlisted with it, an increase during service is aggravation, unless the VA specifically finds natural progress. If this saved you a wasted filing, hit like and subscribe so the next veteran sees it first. I'll answer it myself first. I'd never have pulled the separation exam. So here's what I want from you. Have you ever compared your entrance physical to your separation physical side by side? Pull both exams, then file. I'm Liam, and I'll see you at the next one.